What's going on, Buffs? Welcome back to Mental Training Thursday. For those of you who are with us live, thank you for being here. If you're watching this after the fact, we so appreciate you joining us. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob Deal. I use he, him pronouns. I'm with PHP. We have Chris and Rachel on the call today. We're starting our series on mental toughness, which we're defining as poise under pressure in sport and life. Before we jump into what that is, though, today we have a question from last week from a student athlete. Last week's session was on finding refuge in the face of recent events. So we'll start with Chris with that question, and then we'll keep rolling.
I like the grounding activity from last week about finding your window of tolerance, but was totally distracted at the outset. What can I do when my mind is racing? I feel like a failure at clearing my mind.
Well, as always, we appreciate these questions from student athletes. And I will say, if clearing our mind is really the definition of success when it comes to any of these activities, I'm a failure too. I feel like we're all failures in that, and I think this is way more common than what's talked about. When we actually sit down and become aware of the noise that's happening in our mind, there's this constant racing, or what I call like these trains of thoughts happening. And so one of the ways that I talk with student athletes and would with this student athlete around how we work with this is it's really not about getting rid of these trains of thought. It's more about, gosh, did I get on that train without even buying a ticket? Now I'm all the way somewhere else and not even back on the platform. So I think one of the things we want to do, it can be really hard to think our way out of thinking. So always kind of coming back to our body, could be the breath, come back to our senses, could be hearing. And just to be able to kind of watch those trains of thoughts go by and know that when we watch them, that's the huge win, actually seeing our minds at work without getting caught up in them. And so that's part of what we're going to get into with Mental Toughness Series moving forward with Rachel, Chris, and me. And I think we really want to encourage you to think of the mind as a muscle, because it is. We're creating new habits and grooves in every moment. Not to put more pressure on this moment, but it's kind of cool. We can take an opportunity right now to train our mind so that maybe that worry loop or that racing mind doesn't become a habit, but really getting a little more space from that. And so, I think one thing I just want to say to the student athlete before we jump into the rest of our training Thursday is it's a huge win in mental rep in terms of your toughness to even be aware that my mind's racing. Now, what we do with that next is what we want to jump into today, really how we can kind of do our thing no matter what's going on in our mind, and how we can start to create some space from our mind so we can live a valued life and compete the way we want to in our sport. So I'll let Rachel take over and jump in for our poise under pressure activity today.
Thanks, Bob. That was awesome. I think, one of the key things, like you said, is that getting caught in thoughts or feelings or memories or whatever your mind is kind of trying to convince you of in that moment that might not be so helpful. And over the next few weeks, we're going to train different skills to help you maintain that poise or that present moment. So when we think about poise, we think about three main things: being present, opening up, and doing what matters in the face of adversity. So what matters to you in particular. And so over the course of the next few weeks, we're going to train different skills that help in those three areas. For today, we really want to use a metaphor / exercise to demonstrate what we mean about that poise piece. And so we're going to here's a little bit. We haven't ever done this on Mental Training Thursday, but we're going to do a little bit of a role play back and forth with myself and Bob. Bob will take on an athlete, or I don't know, do you want to take on being an athlete or more of like a colleague?
I'm going to be me. I'm just going to
You're
bring it
gonna
on
be you,
in.
okay.
Yeah.
Bob's going to be himself. And we're just going to use this exercise / metaphor to really hit home what we mean by, just letting the thoughts, feelings, memories, whatever it is that you're having difficulty with, just be and still engage in your life in a way that is meaningful. Your life being sport, your life being outside of sport. For those colleagues out there, your life being work and your life being outside of work. So to get started, if you can, you grab like this will be interesting, a notepad. Can you see the notepad? Here you go. Okay, I can't do it so far away from my face. So if you can grab a notepad, if you don't have one, that's okay. If you're joining us today live, feel free to just watch this exercise and role play. You can kind of play along with it in your mind, and then maybe sign on later and watch the video and actually do the exercise. That could be helpful too. For those of you that aren't live, you're joining us, hopefully watching the video, so you have some time to pause and grab a notepad if you can. So Bob, do you have a notepad with you?
I do. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my background off just to make it a little bit easier to see the notepad so it doesn't fade in. So I got a notepad, I got a pen.
Okay, that's great. I'm gonna take mine off too for now, because I'm gonna join you in kind of different moments as we run through this metaphor, this exercise. So what I want us all to do is just really think about those uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, memories, maybe things that your mind is trying to convince you of that you're getting stuck on. You kind of get caught up in. So Bob, if you feel comfortable, what might some of those things be for you?
Oh yeah, I don't know how much time we have for all of that, but I might need a extra large mural for this. But anyway, I'll say my mind's really telling me, especially when I get to the end of like a semester or a school year, it's like, have I done enough? I've done enough. I had these goals and expectations. So I think there's a lot of thoughts that are telling me, you haven't done enough. You need to do more. You need to be there for your student athletes, your colleagues, so there's some of that coming up. There's some worry around that, some feelings of anxiety or kind of pending, I'm going to disappoint people, which is a big kind of hook for me. So those are a few of the things that are showing up for me right now.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's a vulnerable moment, but what I want you to do is just imagine that this notepad represents all those thoughts and feelings and maybe the doom or the not feeling good enough or what's going to happen when I leave when you leave your postdoc, right? So imagine that is what this is. If you want to, for those of you that are watching, to really hit that home, you can actually write on the notepad. What are those thoughts? What are those feelings? And then I want you to take hold of this, right? Like really hold on to it and grip it as tightly as you can. Now, what I want you to do, Bob, and this might be a little different, but really demonstrate, if you were to hold it in front of your face like this, like go ahead and do that. And I'm going to pull mine away so I can see you. For those of you watching, go ahead and do that. And I'll walk you through the next part of it. So it's almost touching your nose. Okay. That's how close you want it. Now, what's it like trying to have a conversation with me while you're caught up in those thoughts and feelings like that, with that notepad, those thoughts and feelings kind of being blinding you in that way?
Yeah. I mean, I feel really trapped in kind of my own inner experience. Obviously I can't see you at all. So, usually in this space, I really like to connect and be open and really making sure that I'm in conversation, but I feel totally kind of in the dark and just consumed by all this inner noise.
Yeah. And you said normally you like to connect.
Mhm.
Now, are you
Yeah.
feeling like you can connect with me?
You know, in this space, I think it's really, really hard. I feel like all that's happening for me is really just being able to like see everything that I'm afraid of right now. So no, I feel kind of closed off and shut down right now.
And can you see any expressions on my face? You know, I'm big facial expressions.
I'm missing out on it. I have FOMO on all of your expressions right now. I really do. So no, I don't see anything,
So
Rachel.
feeling pretty blocked, trapped.
Mhm.
in some
Yeah,
ways.
absolutely.
Okay. And what's your view of the room like when you're caught up with this stuff?
You know, I can barely see out the edges of my peripheral view, but nothing that I really care to see right now because I'd rather be in this conversation with you and the people on the call. Yeah, so really, I don't see much that's of use for me.
So I hear you saying like when you're in that and you're absorbed and you're stuck in all that stuff, you feel like you're missing out on a lot, like
Oh yeah.
disconnected from relationships, you know, maybe the world around you.
Mhm.
Notice also while you're holding on tightly to it, you can't really do the things that make your life what your life is, the meaningful parts of it, because you're so caught up gripping the clipboard and those thoughts and feelings and memories so tightly. Like that's all you're seeing. There's no space to engage in your life in a different way. So could you in that way then do things that matter to you? Like could you have a vulnerable conversation or engage with an athlete or connect with a colleague? Could you do those things?
I feel like even if I tried, it wouldn't be me totally at my best or me being really present. It'd be really hard to do that from this space for sure.
Okay. So not only do you lose contact with the world around you, you disconnect from your relationships, like we said.
Mhm.
Okay. So now what I want you to do, you can bring the notepad down.
Mhm.
We're going to try something else just to see, because I think just to demonstrate our minds, you know, they convince us of like, this is the way that it's got to be. I've got to struggle with these thoughts and these feelings to try to get rid of them. Sort of like the question the athlete asked at the beginning. So to really hit this point home, that can actually create more struggle and actually, in fact, make those thoughts and feelings more present. I want you to take the notepad. So for everybody who's also taking part, take that notepad again. And instead of holding it like this, I want you to pretend like I'm also pushing it against, like you're going to push it away from you. And also like extend your arms and pretend like I'm also in that room pushing back, right? So there should be some tension in your arms as you're pushing those thoughts, feelings, uncomfortable things around away from you. And just keep pushing, right? Like you really dislike this stuff. You're trying to get it away from you. Now, are they actually going anywhere?
I mean, they're still very much here. Can't really see you, you know. And even if I do shift, I don't know how much longer I can keep holding these thoughts away from me.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's pretty tiring.
Yeah. So there's like tension and tiring.
Mhm.
It is exhausting, right? When you do try to just keep things at length. I mean, we're master avoiders. So we also
Mhm.
to just get rid of things or push them away. That takes time and energy also. So even if you shifted to try to have a conversation, I think what I'm hearing you say is it would still be distracting.
Mhm. Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
And you know, worked on my shoulders recently, and this is pretty tiring. So I think I'm being more consumed around the fight of just pushing these thoughts away than actually connecting with you.
Yeah. And in that space, in that regard too, could you engage in other things that you value in your life, like previously? Like, could you cook dinner? Could you go on a walk? Like, just with it constantly like that?
Ways that I want, that's for sure. It definitely wouldn't be freed up to do those things in the ways that I really value.
And it might be a little easier than the previous that kind of so close like this. But yeah, it sounds like it would still be not as meaningful for you.
No, not at all.
So now let's try this. Let's take that clipboard or that notepad and just place it down on the desk in front of you or in your lap. What's that like?
Well, I immediately feel relief. I mean, not relief from the thoughts because they're still kind of there, but I guess more relief from, I can actually see you. I can be in the space and be present with you and not feeling so worn out from trying to get rid of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, both of those examples really hit home that we try so hard as humans to like control and avoid or suppress what we're thinking or what we're feeling. And that as a result can cause more of that struggle, which then takes more energy and creates less space in our life to engage in our lives in a way that we want to, that's meaningful. So how would it be then if you kind of just let your thoughts and your feelings and your memories or the things that are kind of causing distraction right now from the present moment, what would it be like if you just let them be there as they are in your lap or on a table next to you?
I think it would be a game changer in a lot of ways because they have felt really controlling lately and really kind of dominant. So, I still want to know how I can do it kind of, and make it more of a habit, but I would feel way more freed up to be authentically me moving forward.
It sounds like I hear you saying like more energy,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of freedom to engage in your life in a way that's constructive, that's meaningful to you. And that, you have perhaps maybe time to focus on other things.
Yeah.
But the thoughts and the feelings and those things, they're still there. That's okay. It's about both, right? And I think here's the thing, over the course of the next few weeks, we will be teaching different strategies to try to finish this semester strong in light of dual pandemics, burnout, the things that you're mentioning of like, did I do a good enough job? And those distractors can still be there and we can still have poise under pressure. We can still engage in our lives in a meaningful way on the field, on the court, and so we'll help you to continue to train those mind muscles to have that poise and engage in your life no matter what, in a way that is how you want to engage in your life, that's meaningful. So this is just a poise in a nutshell of how we're going to go about creating that space, that flexibility over the next few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel, for leading me through that. That was really wonderful. And, thanks everybody for joining us. I think we're moving forward next week. We'll keep training up poise under pressure and what that looks like. As always, if you have any questions for us, please email me at robert.deal@colorado.edu. We love those questions. They're so helpful for us. And as is tradition, we want to end with a quotation. This one comes from Nelson Mandela. I think it really gets at the heart of this practice of poise, and that there's a bigger, better offer when we really stand up for the things that we believe in. So he says, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the acknowledgement something else is more important than that fear. And we'll pick up right where Nelson Mandela took us for next time of what do you stand for? What's really important for you in your life, in your sport? But until then, we wish you well and go Buffs.